Hello everyone and welcome to the Curly Hair Project. My name is Nele and I'll be explaining a tip today to you about raising your child with Asperger's syndrome. And today I'll be talking about your child having a special interest or a hyperfocus or whatever you want to call it. If you're familiar with autism or you know someone in your neighborhood who has autism or Asperger's syndrome or you have it yourself, you know very well that those people and yourself, if you have ASD, can ramble on about certain topics or certain subjects, and you can go into real and intensive depth about them. For example, my special interest is psychology, but also Doctor Who, for example, and I've seen all the classic series. I know all the actors. I know how old the doctor is, how many regenerations he's had, and I'm info dumping already. When you have a child with Asperger's syndrome or autism, they can do the same thing about various subjects. So one child can be very focused on battle tanks. Another child can be very focused on anything that is a sailing ship, while another child can be very focused on jelly babies and how they're made. Doctor Who reference. So, as a parent, you might worry that your child is too focused narrowly on just one subject. And I'm going to start by explaining why this is. When you have autism, the world is very overwhelming. So we don't have the filter that other people have. And because we don't have a natural filter installed in our brain, like you'd have a firewall installed on your computer, we let everything in. So everything. I can hear the trees outside, the wind rustling to them, and it's like I can hear every single leaf by itself moving. This is very intense. It gets very overwhelming and it gets very intense for me to process all that kind of information. So if you project this on your everyday life, on your everyday to-day activities, it becomes a lot to handle. Most neurotypical people have a broad variety of subjects they're interested in. This is because they look at a subject and they understand what it is about. So, for instance, if you go to an art museum and you see a painting of Picasso or a Vermeer, and the neurotypical person will see the painting, will see the colors, will see the contrast, and will understand what it's about and interpret it and understand that it's a painting, meaning that painting by that person. The person with autism, however, will see all the different textures, will see all the different details, will see the frame, will see the different ways and methods the painter has tried to put forward, the different textures, the shadows, and so on and so forth. So what the person with ASD sees is a lot of different details rather than the whole of it. I often compare it to neurotypicals being able to see a poster, framed poster, whereas people with autism see different puzzle pieces. And they need to put all those puzzle pieces together and make them to a whole to be able to see the poster. And that takes some time. When you keep that in the back of your head, not literally, but when you keep that in mind, you can understand why it's easier for people who are neurotypical to focus on a more broad variety of subjects because they can understand it more generally. Let's just take another example. When you see a cake at a wedding party, for example, you understand as a neurotypical the cake is beautiful because it's a wedding and it is meant to be eaten. When you have autism, you end up with a lot more questions than that. You can see the cake. What is the cake made of? What are the ingredients? Who made the cake? Why is the cake put in a particular spot? Why is it decorated the way it was decorated? Why did bride and groom choose those decorations? What are the flavors? Why did they choose those flavors? When will it be eaten? How will it be eaten? How will it be cut? And so forth and so on. A person with autism has a lot more questions going on about a certain topic, a certain subject, than someone with someone who is neurotypical. They are much more happy with just knowing the general idea of the subject. The cake's there, it's beautiful, it made bride and groom happy, now we can eat it. And that doesn't work for someone with autism. And that's why it's very important for someone with autism to be able to focus on one particular topic. Because that way they can just completely dig into it and just explore it layer by layer by layer by layer. With the example of the cake, they can figure out who the bakery was. When was the bakery founded? They can figure out about the ingredients in the cake. Where did they come from? The cream in the cake, what taste was it? How was that made? Why was it chosen that way? So they can focus on one topic and one topic alone and not be overwhelmed. So that gives them a sense of security, a sense of safety in a very overwhelming and unsafe world to them. If you have a child who has a special interest, it might be so that you feel like they're not broadening their minds enough, they're not tasting the world enough, because there's so much out there to do and to see and to experience, and you want your child to be to have as much experience as they can possibly get, so they're ready to step into the world fully prepared. But pushing your child with autism to do this might not be the best way to go about things, because, as I explained before, they have to know everything there is to know about a certain topic before they can feel calm and relaxed and safe. And that's really important for someone with autism, is to feel safe in what they're doing. But if you're letting them taste different experiences, like your child has a special interest in, let's say, ships, and they'll want to go see every harbor you pass because they want to see what ships lie in them. But you also want to let them know about art, and you take them to a museum. This can be very confusing to them because you're showing them art and they don't know anything about it. So you're showing them art and you're showing them different sections of art. You're showing them Impressionism, you're showing them Modernism, you're showing them a Vermeer versus a Van Gogh. You're showing them all those different things, and they become completely overwhelmed because they have no sense of security, because they have no idea what's going on. They don't know anything about the topic, and you see the painting as being very beautiful aesthetically, and that's enough for you. But they can't deal with that because they don't know anything about it, so they can't find that sense of security and enjoy it. Compare it to a sailing boat. You know, when you're neurotypical and you go sailing, aka watching art, you know you're going from one harbor to the other and you're just sailing past it so you can enjoy it. Someone with autism only knows they're in a boat in the middle of the sea and they're panicking because they don't know anything else, but they're in the boat in the middle of the sea. And that's very overwhelming for your child. So if you have a child with ASD, with Asperger's syndrome, and they have a special interest, it's okay to let them have it. It's not a bad thing, because people with autism tend to be very specific in what they're good at, but they excel at it. Just think of it as being Hermione Granger at your spells and potions class. She excels in it because it's all she focuses at. She's really, really good at it. I have friends who excel in chemistry, who are computer wizards, who are so incredibly good at art because it's really all they do, but they're so specified in it and they're so good and overly qualified in it. They distinguish themselves from others. So it's not bad having a special interest. And if you do want to introduce something else to your child, just put it there. Like, for instance, like I said before, your child is really interested in ships and you'd like to introduce it to trains. Just get a book from the library with trains, just put it on the dinner table. If they're interested, they'll pick it up. If they're not, just let it be. It's all good. It's really all good. I think the most important thing to realize here is to create a safe environment for your child. If they have a special interest, it means they feel safe in that knowledge. That's their safe harbor. That's where they put their ship to bed, so to speak. That's where they will always feel safe. And if they start rambling about it, it's because they want to share that safety with you. As a parent, you're doing an enormously good job. And it's okay for your child to have that one special interest because it means it feels safe. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Visit us at the Curly Hair webpage or our Facebook page, where you can keep an eye open on workshops or books and new vlogs and blogs. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope to speak to you soon. Bye.